Thank you for attending this webinar. Today we're going to talk about product Power Automate and specifically the Microsoft Dataverse connector. Recently, Microsoft introduced a newer version of that, so I'm going to try and give you a deeper dive into that update. But before I continue, let me first introduce myself. So I'm Dennis. I'm a Power Platform consultant. I also work a lot with SharePoint Online, Dynamics 365, Microsoft Teams, and sometimes also a bit of Azure. Because of that, I work a lot with Power Platform and also with Dataverse. So yeah, I was very eager to share these new updates with you because yeah, I'm also using it on a daily basis. If you ever have a question, by the way, to me in regards to me, yeah, obviously contact me. I do have a Twitter handle, so it's easy to reach out to me if you have any questions outside of this webinar or something like that. So the outline for today. Today I'm gonna talk about 3 different things primarily. One is the connector itself. So I'm in the first part I'm gonna show you yeah, a couple of things which were highlights for me, which were the improvements in the Dataverse connector. And in the second part of this webinar today, I'm going to show you a couple of demos, so how you could use a couple of these improved actions. Yeah, all of these things will be demos. So even that first part, I will show you that by using demos. So this will basically be the last slide I will show you today. So let's turn off the PowerPoint slide deck. So today I've prepared a couple of demos, and I'm all doing that on my developer tenant. So a developer tenant is a free to use environment. Everybody can request that. So I definitely recommend you doing that if you want to play around with Microsoft 365, Power Platform, whatever you want. It's an easy way of trying things, screwing up things, and don't worry about disrupting production or something like that. So yeah, for me, this is my demo tenant. Other prerequisites for today, which I'm using, just to be clear, are an AI model trial. I'm using a 30-day Power Virtual Agents trial. I'm also using a Dynamics 365 customer service trial. And I'm also using a new feature called relevance search. So these are all, yeah, if you want to play around after I showed this to you, yeah, definitely request these ones on your demo tenant if you want to configure that yourself. Don't know what's happening up with this. Let me refresh. So like I said in the outline, in the agenda, the first part which I wanted to show you is the new announcement from Microsoft and the new connector. So recently there was a blog, or recently, I believe a couple of months ago, there was a blog from Praveen, and he announced this new up-to-date connector for the Dataverse. So the Dataverse is basically a secure way of storing your data of the Power Platform or other business apps. And yeah, in this blog, they announced that they would update a couple of actions, but also introduce a couple. So in the 2 demos, for instance, I'm using, where is it? the AI related one. Can't even find it here in the blog. Oh yeah, here it is in the screenshot. So predict using AI models. And the other one I'm using, which is in preview, is the search rows. That's the one I'm using for the knowledge base article use case. But yeah, there are more changes to that whole connector. So I prepared a couple of short demos to show you that. So in this environment, I have a couple of flows. And one of the first ones, which is really interesting, is the changes in triggers. So before triggering something could be quite challenging, because typically when I got a requirement, somebody would say like, if some record is updating. So in the example of this Dynamics 365 customer service, a requirement could be when a case is set to solved, do something. I don't know, send an email to the owner of the contract, of the service contract, or something like that. But typically, that wouldn't be the whole requirement. The requirements would require more filtering, more conditioning. So typically, I would have, I would be adding more stuff to that action. So just to show you, in this example, I'm looking actually at accounts, and what I want is when an account city is set to Reading, then I want to do something. In the past, I always had to use this kind of expression. So basically, this is expression language. I would use a trigger output. I would look at the field, the address one city, and then I would say, if this city equals Reading, then I want to do something. And typically in the past, I had to add that via the settings to the trigger condition settings. So typically in the past, I would do something like this. And then I had a good end result, because then if I would modify an account in, for instance, my customer service environment. So let me navigate to my customer service environment. And if I would go to a random account in here, that would work. So that is an old way of doing things, but basically. So if I would change that, my flow would trigger, and then I could do things like, I don't know, like I mentioned before, send an email. So send an email, and then use content from that record. So for instance, that account name, and then that ship to address, that new value. Where is it? Oh, sorry, it was the city. So I could use that in the body. So that would be a typical thing which I would be doing in the past. And what Microsoft now has done is they made it a bit easier for us. So with this new Dataverse action, so I will delete it so you guys can see how I can add it. So if I would look for the Dataverse connector, and to be clear, it's the green one. So the gray one is the legacy one. But with the green one, you have these triggers, and I'm using this one. That when a row is added or modified or deleted. And then in this case, I was looking at updates, and my entity is called accounts. I was looking at the organizational level. But the biggest change are these things. So I can now look at a column filter. So I can say only trigger this flow when something changes in this field. That's the column filter. And then I can even be more specific by saying what I'm doing here in my trigger condition, which is address city equals Reading. So yeah, for me, that's a big improvement. Not only from the governance point of view, because typically people are not seeing this quickly. So sometimes people are like, why is my flow not triggering? Oh, maybe you have a triggering condition. Oh yeah, I forgot about that kind of comments. So yeah, this is more readable, but at the same time, yeah, I believe you can do more advanced stuff in here. So I haven't played around with that, but I would be curious if I could, I don't know, use a environmental variable in here or those kind of advanced scenarios. So yeah, for me, this is a big improvement. Another improvement of this action is the delay. Thinking out loud about requirements, a delay could be an interesting thing if you have business hours. So if something's triggered outside of your business hours, but you want to pick it up, or you want to only send the email or the Teams message within business hours, then you can calculate like, okay, the time is now. So if you would do like the time is now 10, and like, let's say for argument's sake, your business hours is 12, from 12. And then you can use a timestamp to make sure it's starting at 12 and not at not earlier. So that could be an interesting one. And also the run as. You can also run as a triggering user instead of typically the user which is used for the connection, which normally would be a service account or something like that. So yeah, that's another improvement for me. That's something which definitely wasn't there before. So yeah, this is one of my big changes from this connector. By the way, if you ever feel like, oh, it's interesting, but I can't find the documentation, that kind of thing, and typically I don't click on help icons and those kind of things, but with this one I always do, because when you click on help, you always have the direct link to the action documentation, which yeah, it's very descriptive. It also has things like limits. This one doesn't have it, but primarily or typically in the first section you also see like the known issues. So with, where is it? The Outlook one has a lot of known issues. So yeah, with this one you can see like I believe shared calendars is not supported, or yeah, Office group address cannot be used. And or sorry, this one is the one. Shared calendars are not supported in this connector. So yeah, this this is very useful. This documentation, always use it. So that's number one, which was for me a highlight in the new connector. By the way, if you want to see all actions, obviously you can just click here, add an action, click the connector, and then you can see a whole list of these ones. So yeah, these are all the actions which are in this connector. The second one which I wanted to show you is the change set request, which is an interesting one. For the people who are already familiar with Power Automate, there are some kind of container type of actions. One, for instance, is scope. So you could add a scope action, or scope control, I should say, to a flow. And as you can see in here, the action doesn't have any input or output. So it's just merely a container. This can be useful scope to do error handling and those kind of things. So if everything within the scope fails, or if one thing within the scope fails, then do something. So typically what you see in the community is that people use this for try catch kind of error handling. But within this new data connector, they also introduced such kind of container, and that's called perform a change set request. So if I would add another one, it's this one. And as you can see, it's similar like the scope. You don't have any input or output. It's just a container, and you can only add other actions to it. And as you can see, you quickly probably saw it, but try to load everything, and now it filtered it down. So now you only are allowed to add either of these 3 actions. So you can add a new row, delete row, or update row. And what the benefit of this is it's like an all or nothing kind of container. So in here I have an add new row, which creates a new account, and then a delete row. But this ID is obviously wrong, because normally this should be a global unique identifier. Yeah, so this will definitely error. So if I would now test this, the benefit, then you will see the benefit of this action. So I will now save and test it. It's just a manual flow. So hopefully it will start soon. So in the past, when I was doing something, yeah, like I mentioned, either I had to build in try catch or use scopes or whatever, to make sure that if you are doing something that's, yeah, if the next action is dependent on it, yeah, you need to make sure it works. With this, you can see like the child action failed. So normally this tick box would be green, like, oh, it already created the account, and then after the delete row failed, then you would be stuck with a, yeah, I call it zombie account. But in this case, it didn't, because of the change set request. It's an all or nothing kind of situation. So if this one fails, it will roll back and skip this. So basically, it will, yeah, it's very useful in my opinion, especially with this kind of dependent actions. So yeah, this is definitely also a highlight for me. Like this definitely saves me some time in building try catch stuff, because yeah, I can just put it in this change set request. So yeah, that's the second example of a new action, which for me is very useful. The third one is more related to actions on more specifically the Dataverse, or sometimes Dynamics 365. So what you typically see, if I would go to, let me see what the example is in this one. I believe I used quotes in this example. Just double checking. Yeah. So if I would navigate, I think I have a link here somewhere. Yeah. So typically in the interface, you have all these kind of buttons which do stuff which is related to an action. And an action typically has, not only is it closing, but it's closing with a reason, or it's resolving an incident, or those kind of things. And you can do that with REST APIs, but typically that's a bit more advanced stuff, and you would require an HTTP action or something like that. And from a user point of view, it's pretty straightforward, because in this case, close quote, it's only pressing this button. So what you now can do is within the Dataverse is you can perform these bound and unbound actions. So this is the bound one. You also have another one which is called unbound. So just look for unbound. So it's this one. And the main difference is, you can also see it in the configuration, is this is unrelated to any entity. So it's a generic action. And yeah, as you can see with the bound, I have to first specify a table. So in this case, a quote, and then yeah, it shows all the actions which are available for the entity quote, or I should say table. Nowadays it's called tables, for the table quote. So yeah, in this case, one of those ones is the close quote as one. So they're quite descriptive. So typically it's not hard to find yeah, these kind of actions. So it's actually this one. So in this flow, what I'm doing, let me, by the way, just disable this one temporarily. So what I'm doing here is I'm inputting this quote record ID, to be clear. So it's not this ID, but it's the globally unique identifier of the records. And it's a bit of overkill because I could also just copy paste it in here, but just to show you a manual trigger, which is using this question as an input. So I'm inputting that ID here, and then I'm retrieving that record. This again is also a new action. It's pretty simple, but just want to show you how you can use that. And then I'm using dynamic content from this action. So this is from this action, and that's that same ID. So again, I could put this directly in here, but I just want to show you how you could use dynamic content from this action. So if I would now, oh, sorry, this isn't working because I need to delete it first. So if I would now test this manually, save and test it, then I should be getting an input prompt. And then I can run it. And if all goes well, because it's still a demo, you should be seeing this quote closed as one. So yeah, this is just a one-off kind of situation where, yeah, it's probably easy to just click that close button. But let's say you get, I don't know, a request from your business that they say, list all quotes which have, I don't know, this owner in assigned to it, and yeah, but bulk close them. Then you could do that because you have this list rows, and in that one you can also use filters, selects, and then you could do like the Unbound action in an apply to all. So just to quickly show you that, if you would have quotes, and then instead of this one, I want to use quotes from the list rows. So it's not this one, but this one, which will force it into an apply each, and suddenly your bulk closing quotes as one, which can be very time saving in some situations. I don't know if that's a real life situation, if people want to bulk close stuff, but yeah, you can imagine if you want to tidy up systems or something else needs to be changed, or there's some other actions in here which need to be done, then that can suddenly be very useful, and automation can be very time saving. So yeah, that's the first part. These are like I said, for me, 3 of the highlight kind of actions of the Microsoft Dataverse connector. Like I said, definitely have a look at this link. I believe we can share this afterwards with you guys. And otherwise, yeah, just have a look at the Power Automate Flow blog. I believe it's it's just this hyperlink, flow.microsoft.com and then /blog. So yeah, that's it was pretty nice stuff what they introduced for us, and very useful for me to build my automations as well. So yeah, the next part of our session will will be more of more demos. And yeah, like I mentioned before, I've prepared 2 demos. One is the usage of a virtual agent. So there's a product from Microsoft which is called Power Virtual Agents, a chatbot, and yeah, I'm using that to go through or search through knowledge base articles from Dynamics 365 customer service environment. That's the first one, and the second one is more related to AI. So I'm using a prediction model on a set of invoices I'm uploading to a drop folder on my file system, and then I'm extracting that information and storing it, in this case in a simple SharePoint list, but obviously, yeah, hopefully you can see that it could be useful to store it in whatever system you want, because within Power Automate you have all these connectors, so hopefully you can see that benefit of that. So yeah, let me first start with the virtual agent use case. So like I mentioned before, it's still open, I believe here. Yeah. This organization is using a customer service module from Dynamics 365. And typically, what you see in these kind of organizations is, they're using the cases module to record service requests, incidents, all these kind of ITIL kind of processes. But what you also have a lot is, people run into the same issues, same problems. So typically there's a demand for knowledge base articles, and normally that's internal facing. So would be a situation where IT staff wants to share that amongst each other. But you can also see that as a self-service kind of scenario. So probably there are some cases where customers are offered this kind of self-service opportunity to search through this article, so they first can try and resolve it themselves before they escalate it to this organization where they have a service contract with. So yeah, this is also this kind of implementation. This is a demo environment with a lot of demo cases, and in this service module, you also have a table called knowledge articles, and that's also pre-populated. So this is another benefit of using this trial tenant. So as you can see, this organization has a lot of published drafts and approved articles. And just to show you an example of such an article, it has a title, description, it has some keywords, and then obviously the content itself. So this is what I'm using. This is what I'm browsing through or searching through. So that's the first part of it. The second part of this demo is the virtual agent itself. So let me show you basically the end result. So I'll first demo it, and then hopefully it's logging on. It's redirecting a bit. Should be, because yesterday was afraid of that. Let me try and close my browser and start over again with this. Yeah, sometimes I have some issues with that. I don't know if you guys have seen that before, but it doesn't like switching between environments with this product. So hopefully this should be sufficient. No, it isn't. So I need to close the whole browser, I believe. Sorry about this. Let me try again. Otherwise, I'm trying a different browser. Should ask me to for my information now. Yeah, so it's better. So hopefully now figures out who I am. And then the two-factor authentication. So in this, this virtual agent is not very complex. I've only, asked a couple of questions. So the chatbot is not doing a lot, but it's, just to show you what is possible. So hopefully now it works, because I should have my right session now. No, come on. Just trying a different browser, and otherwise I'm gonna continue to the next demo. So one attempt again. So this time Chrome. Obviously, this is a good time to get some coffee. This looks a bit better. No, it doesn't. Okay. Let's skip this agent stuff. And let me first show you the flow itself, so you can at least see the benefit of using the Dataverse. So let me go back to this one. And then go to the flow, which should work. So in here, we have this flow called knowledgebase article search. And the starting point is a keyword. Oh, this is not the correct one. So it's okay. I will just continue. So this is an input Power Virtual Agents. So within a chatbot, you can say ask a question, and then do something with the response of the person responding to that question. So yeah, like I said, unfortunately I can't show it at the moment. But normally, what you would do is somebody, the bot will ask a question like, "What is your issue?" Or with which type of product do you have an issue? And then the bot will collect that response and store that in a variable, and then this variable and that value will be sent via an action in the chatbot to this flow, because it can recognize flows which start with this action. And then you can input that in this keyword field and then reuse it in other actions. So what I did in that chatbot is I basically asked, what type of issue do you have? And as you could see in the knowledge base articles, there were a lot of articles about having issues with laptops, with desktops. So I was only asking the chatbot, like, do you have issues with your laptop, desktop, or tablet? And when the user was choosing a desktop, then that word desktop was used as a keyword in here. and then you can reuse it in here. So in this case, as you can see in the search rows, you can use that same keyword to search for something. And then you can, just like other actions in Dataverse, you can also use row filters to make your search more specific. And normally relevant search, which is a feature which is enabled for a lot of tables. It will search through all those tables, so not only knowledge base articles, but also accounts, contacts, whatever you want. But that can be maybe a bit of overkill, but because then you also get all those results back. So in this case, I'm using a knowledge base article filter to specifically say to the search rows, only search through this specific table. And then also important, I'm using a search score sorting. So basically when you search for these things, then it will sort based on the highest prediction score. So if the system is very confident that this is a good result, then it will give like a higher score compared to other results. So this could be useful. And then obviously you can do a row count. So you could do like I want the top 5 results. Just to mimic this, because obviously the bot is not working. So just to show you how that would work, you just save it and then hard code this just to show you how that would work. This doesn't work either. Let me see if I have another example. This is so this is not the right flow, I believe. Sorry guys, I don't know why this is not working. Okay, for looking at the time, it's probably better to skip this one, and if I have some time at the end, I will try and figure out if I can show it to you working. So just to recap, this one is using a virtual agent. It's using the search rows, which is very useful to search through the knowledge base, and then it will give you back articles with a probability or a search score, which can be useful to give the end user a top 5 of relevant results. This is just an example. You could also use it on other entities like incidents or accounts or contacts. So it could be very useful. The second demo which I wanted to show to you is extracting data from PDF files on a file system. So just to show you, I have a gateway drop folder. So in here, you can see on my C drive, the gateway drop-off folder. So it's on my local file system. And this is a place where I can drop these kind of PDF files. And just to show you one, which we will process. This is an example. PDF file. So as you can see, there are a couple of bits which can be of interest of financial people or people requiring me to create this. So things like the billing company, the contacts, but also the total amount and then the date. So these are 4 items which are of interest of us in this use case, and which we want to extract from this document and store somewhere else. So where I'm storing it in this example is, where's my list here? So as you can see in here, it should be pretty similar. So it's Fabricom. So it's this one. So as you can see in here, it's bill 2, contact is the same, and then the date timestamp, and then the amount. So as you can understand, this maybe SharePoint is not the ideal place to store this kind of information, but yeah, you can already do like group by total or use totals and count the sum or something, do a sum function or sort here like older to newer because it's a date field. So yeah, this can be very useful to already store it somewhere else like SharePoint. So yeah, that's what we're doing. It's like dropping it in a Dropbox folder and then extracting it through a flow, and then the end result will look like this. And just to show you what's part of that, one of the first things which you will need is invoice processing model. So that does require that 30-day trial or obviously a paid license. And if you've never created an AI model, when you open up the Power Automate product, it's here on the left-hand side, AI Builder. No. It's very slow today, sorry. So what you can do in this models is you can use standard ones, or you can create your own custom. And in this case, it's a custom one. And with models, what you can do is you can upload like 5 documents, and then one by one identify the areas or the fields you want to use. Don't know what's up with my environment today. They don't like me. So in the meantime, I will open up the flow. That should work. Yeah, it does. So yeah, just to talk you through the flow first, and then hopefully I can still show you the model if that loads properly. So yeah, just to talk you through the flow itself, it's a pretty simple one. The only thing is, yeah, it does require some additional setup, like yeah, the AI model, which obviously is not showing up. But first thing is the file system connection. Don't know if one of you ever used this, but yeah, it is as an action pretty simple to set up. As you can see, it looks at by the way, a different drop folder, but it looks at a local folder, and it can return a maximum number of items and it's a trigger again, so it's only looking at files which are added or modified. But the setup is a file system one, which requires a data gateway. So you do need a personal data gateway. So just to briefly show you that. Such a component. So if this is not running, this one doesn't work. So that's also a benefit. If you just turn it off, nobody's accessing your computer by accident or something like that. And then it can, have connections with things like Power Automate, but also Logic Apps, Azure, Power BI. So this is a core component to be able to use this connector. But if that's properly set up, then you can just drop a file in this folder, and then the next action is related to that. So I'm just reusing the ID from whichever file changed, and then the nice bit of the new Dataverse stuff, which is using this model, enter invoice information IAM model, which is custom one, which for some reason is still not showing up. And I give it feedback on what type of document it is. So in my example, I'm using PDFs to process, but you could use, as you can see in here, TIFFs, PNGs, JPEGs. So you could also process other type of documents, which could be interesting with scans and those kind of things. And then, processing the actual file content. So in here, I'm grabbing the file content, and then in here, I'm processing it. And based off that, I'm creating these entries in the SharePoint list. So here is the invoice list you just saw here. And then I'm just basically mapping it. So this is the name which we already knew in the trigger output. And this is the build to value from this prediction model. I have to run this before, so there should be some history, so I can show you what the response is from the AI model, so that you can see what's actually returned. So whenever you have a flow run and you're interested in, okay, what's the input and what's the output, you can always click on show raw inputs, show raw outputs. So in this case, I'm interested in, this is the wrong one, by the way. Oh, no. Okay, you can show the raw outputs. So in this example, you can see the AI model has certain labels. So we have labels like bill to, contact, total, and what was the last one? Date. And based on those labels, it does prediction. So it has like a score also assigned to it, and a confidence score. So with this one, it's pretty confident that this is the bill to customer, this value. You can use this threshold. So if you don't accept that, if you want to have a 0.9 confidence or something like that, you can even ignore that and use that in your create item. Like you can use expressions or with if statements. But this is very useful. It also gives you back the location where it actually found it. So you can also use that if you would like to. But these are basically the things I'm grabbing. So from the build to, I'm grabbing this value, and from the, where is it? This is the total, this value. So basically it's prediction from the AI with a confidence score. This is just an example form processing. You have other types of models, so you can also do object detection. There's also some standard ones. I believe the business card one is one. So this can all be very useful. And I just wanted to show you how you could use that by interacting with files on a local file system, and then writing it back to the create item. So yeah, hopefully that's clear, that example. Yeah, let me try and see if I can still show you either the virtual agent. Let me try if I can open that one up. Let's see if I'm lucky now. No, still not. Yeah, I'm not gonna bother you with this error. Yeah, I think that's it about for now then. Yeah, what we can do is we can share the slides afterwards. I can share these links. Yeah, and that's about it. So thank you for your time, and hopefully till next time.